Good morning. So today I wanted to do something fun. I want to do some Johnny cakes, and if you're not familiar, get ready to live. They are fantastic and delicious. You may never make pancakes the same way again. We're going to pair that with a bourbon salted caramel. That's what I said, right? That's what we're doing. Let me show you how to do it. Now to get this thing started, we're gonna go with a big pan on our griddle. I'm gonna get this up. I had it preheating on low, but I wanna make sure that those are up to high because we are gonna make our salted caramel first, and it's really, really easy. It's only, well, right now it's only 3 ingredients. Now I've got some sugar. This is just plain white sugar. I've got some pollen in my sugar. We're underneath this big, beautiful oak tree. Gotta live with what you got. What's the phrase? I don't even know. Do what you can with what you have, I suppose. So I've got some sugar in there. I'm gonna go with some of my favorite, a little bit of Knob Creek. We don't wanna go too much. That looks about right. We're looking at 1/3 of a cup, maybe 1/4 cup. We're gonna grab some water and add that in. Essentially what we're doing is we're giving the sugar a liquid bath. And that's going to reduce and caramelize the sugar evenly. So as we stir this, you'll see it starts to incorporate into the water and the bourbon. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Hey, what's going on? They heard we were making Johnny cakes. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. All right, so now you can see that sugar's slowly starting to dissolve. Now once it dissolves, it's gonna heat up and it's gonna start bubbling and caramelizing, turning into caramel, if you will. So we're set to stun, we're set to cruise. Let's let that go, and we'll come and revisit that in just a few minutes. Now, to get to our Johnny cakes, this mix is really, really simple. Just a few little things that make it extra fun. There's that pollen again. Those of you that don't live in Florida, big old beautiful oak trees. I just said beautiful oak trees, happy little oak trees. What did someone say in the comments in my last video? I remind them of Bob Ross, which I consider a compliment. So to the fine gentleman that said that, I appreciate you. So we're going with 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Now here's where we get fun. We're gonna go with 1 cup of, come on now, cornmeal. Now you can use fine or coarse. I'm using a bit of a coarse right now. We're gonna go equal parts. It's 1 cup and 1 cup. Now to this, I've got my baking powder. To this, I'm gonna go with 1 tablespoon of baking powder. That looks good. And if you ever wonder about the difference between baking powder and baking soda, P is for pow, so baking powder helps you rise. That's what's gonna give us that big, beautiful lift. Here we go, a whisk. Just give that a nice little whopper. All right, that looks great. Now in a separate bowl, we're gonna mix our wet ingredients. So I'm gonna bring a bowl over here. I've got a few eggs here. Let's go ahead and crack those. Now for this, I probably want at least 2. There's 1, and let's go with 2. You know what, let's go ahead and do 3. We're gonna do 3. Can I show you a trick on cracking eggs? CJ, you know this trick. So if you crack an egg onto something like this, if I'm cracking onto something, what I'm doing is I'm breaking the shell back into the egg. However, if I crack on a flat surface, I'm giving myself a much better opportunity to get a nice flat, even crack, so I can go with 1 hand, no shells, like a pro. All right, now to this, we're gonna add my favorite part. Now this is one of those things that makes a Johnny cake or a hoe cake. So we're gonna add our bacon fat. So now this is just rendered bacon fat, and I know you guys have heard me in the past talk about liquid gold, which bacon fat is. So never, ever, ever get rid of that bacon fat. You don't need to, because you never know when you need to make some Johnny cakes. Like CJ makes Johnny cakes all the time. Yep. Now we're mixing the wet separate from the dry so that when we mix them together, we get a nice even incorporation. All right, there we go. So now we have our dry, we're gonna add our wet right to it in the middle here. There we go. Oh, I forgot one last thing, buddy. One last thing, I've got my buttermilk. Now this is another one of those things, just like the bacon fat, the buttermilk is gonna give us a little bit of oomph, a little bit of what for. So good. We're gonna incorporate all of this together. We can go a little bit at a time if you want. I'm gonna go a little bit more of that buttermilk, just so I get a better consistency for my batter. Now, if you don't have buttermilk and you want to use it or you can't find it, you can just add a little bit of white vinegar to some whole milk. You can get the same effect. Buttermilk is basically just has a lovely acidity to it that brightens everything up. Now, we don't want this to be super thin. We want this to be fluffy and airy, so don't over mix. If you over mix, you're gonna end up with flat, sad pancakes. Should I keep going, CJ? Should I keep going with the Bob Ross thing? You want happy little Johnny cakes. That's what you want, happy little Johnny cakes. I also got Ina Garten, and who else did I get? Mr. Rogers. That made my heart smile. So to you, sir, who said that, thank you as well. I am loving this right here. This is magic. Hey, real quick, let's go check on our sauce over here. Let's see how our caramel is doing. Essentially what we're looking for is big fat bubbles. If you've never made caramel before, you've never done a reduction sauce, small bubbles form and pop really fast. Big fat bubbles, you'll see them, they last a little bit longer. Right now on the sides, you can see right over here, we have those tiny little bubbles. Go ahead and give that a stir so that sugar can dissolve and melt in there. We want these bubbles to get nice and big. What that means is the liquid is reducing out and we're getting the caramelization that we want. So let's give this about 4 or 5 minutes and we should be onto big fat bubbles. After about 7 to 8 minutes, you'll really notice those bubbles starting to look absolutely stunning. They popped really fast in the beginning because they were tiny. Now they're popping very slowly because they're beautiful. Now to this, I'm gonna add some unsalted butter. This is kind of where you don't wanna leave. The butter can break, we don't want that to happen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to add my butter and then stir it until it's fully melted. So let's do that'll be a whole stick of butter. I feel good about that. We don't need all 3. There we go. Now we're gonna take our spatula here, or spoon, if you're using a spoon, and we're gonna stir. Now watch, do you see how it's incorporating immediately? That's what we want. That is so stunning. You can see it starting to change. Now it's starting to look more like caramel. So we're gonna keep stirring. You can break your butter up a little bit if you want to, so that it melts in there a little bit. But this is definitely one of those, being present in the moment and being a part of your sauce. It's so good. Get all the edges and stuff. This is a really fun thing. I mean, by all means, if you're doing pancakes and syrup, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to take it to the next level, this is a really fun way to just add a little bit more of yourself to your food. All right, now I'm gonna pull this off the heat. I'm coming over towards you, Ethan. So I don't want this to be hot anymore. I do want it to start cooling down. So I'm pulling it off. Now the burners on this side are off. And I'm gonna bring my, oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. Gorgeous. Now I'm gonna pull my burners down here. I had them on high. I'm gonna come down to low, medium low-ish. We don't want our Johnny cakes to cook too fast or burn. There we go, just a touch of oil. There we go, that looks good. All right, now we can go with our mix. So we don't wanna go too heavy. I like a smaller Johnny cake than, smaller than I would like a pancake. We'll take a nice little ladle. And now don't smash these down. We want them to be puffy and fluffy. 2 of them. Remember that baking powder, P is for pal. It's a fun little tip. That is what's gonna give us this rise. You're gonna see it happen in just a second. Let's do 4 of these guys. 4 looks good. All right, let's let that cruise for just a bit. Let's get back to our sauce over here, Ethan. Oh, that's stunning. Even as I mix that butter back in. See how velvety and gorgeous? Now to this, we only have a couple more ingredients. I'm gonna add a bit of vanilla extract. I'm also gonna add some heavy cream. Now the vanilla, the heavy cream, the butter, the sugar, the bourbon, all of those things coming together. I mean, you can use store-bought, and by all means, if that's what you're into, that's awesome, but this is next level and it's so fantastic. The last thing I wanna add is salt. You can't have salted caramel without salt. So let's do a pretty heavy sprinkling, if you will. Sometimes I say a bit. This is 2 bits. 2 bits of sugar, CJ? Sugar? How about salt? Salt. Just a bit of salt. That brings out some of that richness in the flavor as well. I think we need to check on our Johnny cakes. Oh ho ho! Look at those babies. That is what I'm talking about. Now you notice they have a slightly different color than pancakes. That's that cornmeal. That's that beautiful, rich corn flavor, and that's what makes this a Johnny cake. So I'm saying 60 more seconds. It's time for breakfast. What do you think, CJ? You ready for some breakfast?
Yeah, dude.
You think about that salted caramel. All right, you ready for this? These are really, really fun. I mean, you saw how quick it was. You could do a ton of these in a relatively short period of time. Now, these are a good bit heartier than a traditional pancake or normal pancake, but I feel like you don't need to eat as many unless you're hungry, boy. You want to eat a lot, you can. So basically we have our stack here. I'm gonna grab a spoon and bring my beautiful caramel sauce over. My goodness. Ethan, can you see this? See this #1 stunner. Look at this. So, so good. All right, we're gonna take this right over the top. Now this is obviously in place of our syrup. And as it cools, it's going to harden just a little bit like a caramel sauce, which is so much fun. This is what really takes it to the next level. And add as much or as little as you like. I personally want to add a good bit. Now that corn in the mix has a decent amount of savory flavor, so this sweetness is really going to cut through it for a really fun experience on your palate. And that, my friends, is how you take your Johnny cake game to the next level. You know what time it is? Oh man. Oh, that is so, so good. Oh, look, you can see all those beautiful little bits of corn. That cornmeal in there is really, that's so, oh my. Come on. Dang.
Looked like you were about to get in a fight there for a sec.
No, it wasn't. Well, I might with the salted caramel. Oh, it is so good. You know, I'm not typically a very big dessert guy, but whenever I do have dessert, I love something salty, something savory in the mix. And the bacon fat, the cornmeal, that is rich and delicious, and that salted caramel, just through the roof. Bourbon, salted caramel Johnny cakes. Thank you very much. All right, be sure to check out CJ's first cooking show. Check out Betty's show. Check out Todd's show. But this is Cook, Eat, Repeat. I forgot the name of my own show. This is Cook, Eat, Repeat, where we help you become a better cook one recipe at a time. I'm your host, Chef Nathan Lippy, and I am done because I gotta go eat some delicious Johnny cakes. See you guys in the next video.